Hello and welcome, everyone. Shawn, welcome. It's such a delight to have you here again
I
for
know.
another one of these deep conversations on love.
Aloha. Thank you so much. And aloha to everybody out there. For those of you who don't know, people are like, are you in Hawaii? Where are you calling from? What's with this aloha thing you do?
Yeah.
Of course, many of you know that's the name of our company, alohalifecoaching.com. But I'll just make this brief. But the idea of aloha and the reason I use it, aloha, Beranger, I see you out there as always. Love to see your face. Sort of not see your face, see your icon. Aloha, Yolanda, everybody who's showing up again. But when I say aloha, and this is the thing that I've learned, it's not about hello or goodbye. And I've learned this from the Hawaiians when I lived there, was, this royal, he was part of the royal family. He goes, do you know what that means? And I was like, hello, goodbye. And he goes, no. It's from our breath, my life, my spirit, my energy I give you. I'm like, wow. And I
Mm.
always want to show up that way. And it reminds me to go, wait, don't just be here physically, which is going to be great about this, soul conversation, is just bring your soul, bring your spirit to this moment. That's it. There's nothing in the past. There's nothing in my future. It is just me being with each and every one of you. So it is my reminder to just be fully present. So, and I hope that you're in that same space to just be present right here, right now. And Adora and I here are meeting you right where you're at. So aloha,
That's
big
so
aloha.
beautiful. Aloha.
Thank
I
you.
love it because it brings us through our breath into the full potential of this moment, right? Everything is possible right here and right now. And when we come together and have all of you join us in this sacred community, in this quantum community that we are growing, that we are building together, then we transform together. As we each heal and come to new levels of awareness within ourselves, that happens for all of us, right?
Absolutely. And I know you feel it though, because we see more and more people show up and you're going, oh, there's something magnetic about each and everybody who's here right now listening, right?
Yeah.
That vibrational energy, that personal investment, that personal presence. Because I don't take this for granted. There's a million things everybody right out here watching could be doing.
Yeah.
There really are, right? But this is why I talk about you're the creator of your life, and the power of choice is your superpower, right? Creative, of course. But you chose to be here in this moment in your life to create, to transform something. And if at the very least you're like grateful to be alive right here, right now. And I just don't take that for granted from everybody who's here right now. Please know, Dublin, Ireland, I see you out there. Oh,
Welcome.
fantastic. Oklahoma, I saw you pass through. And that's the
Beautiful.
beauty of it. People, this vibration is extending around the world. And after this, hopefully, this energy, of course, you get to take to your family. Take your soul energy and go, or the people at work, or even your day, or that moment of solitude, and you just go, wow, I did something for my soul today, even if
Mm,
with us, and that transcends and transforms. And that's really what for me is like life is about, is great. It's not just inspiring or empowering one person, it's inspiring that person to then go inspire another person, who will then go inspire another person, and now you have a healthier, happier planet, you know.
exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
The truth is that everything is possible, and everything is possible in this moment as we learn how to shift our mindset, as we learn how to open to new possibilities, as we learn to harness the power of our intention to transform, to connect, to elevate, right? And to receive the goodness that we are. For today's conversation around soul psychology, if you've been listening in on the past couple of weeks where we've talked about love language, where we've talked about attachment styles, we've really been setting the stage for this wider conversation. Now,
Yeah.
of course, in this live, we can only go so far, but we're going to be doing that deep, deep dive and transformational journey through our events in California in May. We have a couple of beautiful VIP events in Malibu. We also have Santa Barbara, and one more event that is in the works that we'll
I
be
know.
sharing probably in a week or two. So
Yeah.
it's really quite wonderful. But when we start to look at the idea of soul psychology, we begin to understand that when we are looking at life from the lens of our past pain, that we are never fully living present in the moment.
Mm.
And when we start to consider some of the aspects of our ancestry, our family heritage, and look at the belief systems, emotional patterns, ways of thinking, ways of believing and connecting in with a power greater than us. And we start to see the patterns through our family line of our parents, our grandparents, and on and on and on. We can see like, wow, there are so many aspects of my family line that I am living in my life today, in my relationships, and I haven't even realized it. So of
Yeah.
course, how do we transform anything, right? First, we have to come into a state of awareness,
Yeah.
a state of understanding. And I think, we can certainly touch upon a couple of individual experiences on this, but one of the things that I like to look at in terms of soul psychology is what I call the childhood treasure map,
Mm.
where when we look at our dynamics with our parents or our primary caregivers and see how they're connecting into experiences that our ancestry has had and carried through the line, we can see that there is so much in that treasure map of goodness for us to be able to excavate and mine the gold, right? Those jewels of wisdom that are held in not only our earlier lives, but that are truly held in our family ancestry.
Yeah.
Because we often refer to the challenges, the pain or the trauma, but there's also tremendous blessing that's held there too, right? But how do we get into the blessing? How do we get into the gold when we're still carrying that heaviness from the past? So a couple of ideas that we want you to start to consider, to become curious about in your own journey of life, in your own childhood treasure map, are what are the ways did you experience your family communicate about love, right?
Mm.
How did they communicate about life in general? How did they relate to each other? Because when we have an early childhood experience that involves either the withholding of love, maybe the silent treatment between our parents or primary caregivers, well, we learn how to withdraw love from ourselves.
Yeah.
When we experience betrayal in our environment or abandonment, then we learn patterns of betraying and abandoning ourselves. So in this greater reflection, there is also a wonderful place of empowerment, because the truth is each of you have come into this life at the soul level to learn, grow, heal, transform, and awaken. And there is a gift that only you can bring to this world.
Yeah.
Only you can bring to your loved ones, but first through coming into a healing and greater understanding of yourself. And I think, Shawn, and if I look back to my own past and some of the belief systems, right, growing up,
Right.
Irish Catholic belief systems around working hard, and how I learned how to really work so hard to my own detriment, to a detriment of not caring for myself, of not loving myself enough for having healthy boundaries and healthy self-care. Like, these are ways that we bring our old patterns into our current life and our current relationships. And I'm sure you can relate to some of these as well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, when I go back, and I often think about my journey here. I mean, I'm a small town in the Midwest. That's kind of where my origin story begins, and it is that you talked about the work ethic and earning. Everything is earned. That's all I've really, really known. Like, nothing's given to you. Nothing's been given to me. And I have that, to be clear, I have tremendous blessings. right? I
Yeah.
can see, hear, touch, taste, smell, and that's just this part of the bandwidth on top of all of these other blessings that I've had. So, but it is that learning on a soul level to
Mm-hmm.
really, really connect and not carry over. And I had this conversation with my brother the other night about how my parents were so amazing in so many beautiful ways, right? And there's beautiful things that I would take from my mom that I love the way they resolved conflict. She was such a
Mm.
peace, like in fact, I've never heard her yell or swear or say a bad word about anybody, as I have told you.
It's remarkable.
Then my dad was just a gritty, go get it kind of person who
Mm-hmm.
I was like, great, I love that and I love that. So to talk about the soul patterns that we carry forward, I was like blessed to have two people who loved me dearly and did everything and anything they could. Doesn't mean I didn't fall on my face and made a lot of mistakes, but those patterns, and I would find that in my own relationship, as you know, you're talking about the soul journey, this treasure
Mm-hmm.
hunt. You had me at
Yes.
treasure hunt. I see all the
Yes.
love out there in the heart, so I appreciate all of that. But that's what it feels like, right? We're on this beautiful adventure for this great treasure, but are we carrying the weight, as you described, of all of these things in our
Mm.
soul of perhaps a past trauma or something that happened with a parent or a loved one or the bully on the playground or whatever that is like shadowing this beautiful soul, this beautiful gift that we do have,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And it isn't necessarily like, oh my God, where's my treasure, right? Everyone's
Mm.
heard about it. It's all about the destiny, right? Or it's about the journey, not the destiny. We all know that. But yet, if we're carrying all of these things, these soul things, we don't think about that. We're like, oh my God, I have to, this is a great thing for spring, like the cleansing of the soul. We talked about this a little bit earlier, just in our private meeting,
Mm-hmm.
is that's what this feels like, a
Yes.
renewal
Yes.
of all of that. So if you become aware of those past patterns or trauma, use them. They are not your enemies. I'm telling you, they may be painful, right? I'm not suggesting you just bury the pain and move on. And that's what I had to learn in my own life. But I go, that is part of my journey. But I'm
Yeah.
right here. I'm right here right now. How can this be useful and helpful
Mm-hmm.
to my soul's journey on this treasure hunt?
Yes. On this greater evolution,
Yeah,
right?
because the treasure, I'm telling you, everyone, right now, it's not there on the beach on the ocean front, and I'm a big ocean fan. The treasure is within you.
Yeah.
That is what's amazing. If you just look within you and around you, you will find it because you already have it.
Exactly. And you are both the lock and the master key. I
Mm.
have this term that I like to refer those soul level lessons are actually blessings. And I
Mm-hmm.
learned this very early in my healing journey. And one of my first teachers when I was in my early 20s would use this term, and he'd say, "Oh, yes, you're really right in the blessing.
Yeah.
Blessing. This is where blessing. What are you talking about? This is so painful, right?
Right.
It's gut wrenchingly. It's painful to the depths of my soul, and yet." These primary lessons through our soul psychology, our soul work. And that's one of the reasons you may hear me often say your soul work is your soul work.
Mm.
Because these lessons are actually life or soul level lessons that we've come into this life to find out a greater understanding of our meaning, our path, our purpose,
Right.
the places of empowerment that we have forgotten about. And so the lesson is when that lesson that may seem very painful and difficult, challenging at first, really becomes a blessing because we're able to extrapolate the wisdom,
Mm.
right? The growth that comes through the journey.
Yeah.
And so all of your lives hold blessings. And even if you're going through something very difficult right now, first invite in the greater support, the greater wisdom of your soul to guide you. Open yourself to the benevolent spiritual forces that surround you to show you the way, that the road may rise up to meet you and guide you on your highest path and journey of transformation, opening to the love that you already are.
That is exactly it. That is that where I talk about the being present, right? And knowing that, and this is practice. It is the consistent practice of going, wait, I love the blessing word. This is a blessing. That's amazing. Because that is the perspective you get to choose, right? Your soul, you now have an opportunity to look at this because you have the power of a thought, that soul consciousness, right? That soul consciousness, because research says, right, 5% of our cognitive activity is conscious thinking. So the
Remarkable, isn't it?
95% is that subconscious thinking, that soul level thinking, right? So you can see how that actually influences the reality that we are creating. The thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, these intangibles, right? That's a soul, right? The thing that you can't see. So think about that, right? Because we focus on the material world and saying this person hurt me and that thing hurt me and this hurt me. You go, wait, how is this a blessing, right? So to speak. And you go, but what are the thoughts, the perceptions, the emotions, the decisions, the behavior patterns that I am currently doing and my reactions? Think about this, each and every one of you, to go, wow. So you're looking at things from a soul perspective, not a material perspective, if that makes sense. A tangible, physical thing, right?
I love that.
Right? It's
brilliant.
Just a small shift in perspective. Because even when I create, right, if I have to create a character, I have to create a moment, I'm like, it's still me. It's still the physical me with all my quirks and all my flaws and all my things that I have, right? And there are abundant of those things, but I have to choose to go, wait, of this catalog of things that we talk about in our past, or maybe a fear or anxiety of the future. That is not going to serve me in this moment. You've heard the thought, I think Napoleon Hill, you become what you think about, right?
Yes, I love Napoleon.
Yes.
His work from the early 1900s, so present, so powerful today.
So powerful. So if you just go, what am I thinking about? If you're becoming what you think about, I ask people this, like, what do you think about? Nothing. Okay, so if you're becoming what you're thinking about, you're becoming nothing. All right. So let's back that up. Well, I'm worried about this. I'm anxious about this. Okay, so you're thinking about this? Yes. Excellent. And I've gone through theater of the mind, and I'll repeat this 1,000 times. But so if you're thinking about, I'm anxious and I don't know if I can do this next thing, or I'm scared about this will happen again, or I'll be betrayed again, so I'm not going to risk love, right? So law of attraction, exactly, right? You go, so I'm thinking about what I'm scared about. So I'm becoming what? Scared. I'm becoming anxious. I'm not becoming my whole potential. So the moment is sort of half lived. What's up, Drake? I love you, brother. Love you, man. I hope I'll see you in Malibu, my friend. But you're becoming what you think about. So if you're conscious about what you keep thinking about, even if you go, I keep thinking about my past, or oh my God, I'm scared to make this next move. You go, okay, how is that going to help me? How is that useful? That's the perspective. So if I want to become whatever it is, you get to choose, by the way. You have the power to create your own life. Not me, not your past, not your future, nothing. You are blessed to have this moment to go, what do I want to choose? And then, of course, the deeper work is, what is it going to take to get there? That's another conversation, right?
Yeah.
You don't just...
I mean, we could stay on this for hours.
Exactly.
Diving just down all the rabbit holes.
I'm going to be a world-class athlete. Well, okay, fantastic. You believe that? You feel that? Are you behaving in the pattern of a world-class athlete would? And maybe you do. Or you run a big entrepreneur. okay, what is that going to take? But you have to, nothing comes into being without a thought. The chair that you're sitting on, this phone that we're all here right now, by the way, that didn't just happen. It happened with a thought. Someone had to think of this first. Someone had to imagine it. Someone had to think about it. And that's how it came into being. And the very thing that you're doing for your own life is this no different. You can't create it if you're not thinking about it and becoming it. It's not gonna happen.
It's so true, because we tend to think, we tend to let our mind, our thinking, sometimes referred to as the monkey mind, just run freely, right? And that's one of the most sometimes disarming choices that we can make in the moment, because it is the harnessing of our mind, subconscious and conscious, and then ultimately superconscious, that allows us to shift the trajectory of not only the moment but the future, and to start living from the present moment versus the past. Now, a couple of you have asked, how do I shift when I'm feeling grief or the pain of the past? And I'd like to offer you a simple breath technique that you can work with. And we might have touched upon this in one of the previous conversations, I'm not sure, but it's the love code breath technique, and we can do it right now together so you have something tangible. It's 3 breaths: release, forgiveness, and gratitude. Release, because in order to create something new, we have to let go of the past, even the emotion, the thought, whatever the old pattern is. Then to bring in a place of forgiveness for any place of ourselves that we're holding that inner critic, right? Our self-judgment, where we're chastising ourselves for some imperfection. We're all perfectly imperfect. And then, of course, a breath of gratitude for the courage and commitment it takes to change, to heal, to grow, to evolve, to think differently, to feel differently, to behave differently, and to create a different, more elevated expression of life and love. So let's just take a moment right now. For those of us that are feeling grief or frustration or a sense of disconnection, overwhelm, anxiety, or depression, let's take a deep breath together. Breath in, expanding into the new moment, right? A new choice. And then exhale in the letting go. Sometimes it might take a few breaths of release to really let it go in our muscles, in our body, before we can take in a breath of forgiveness. To just be kind and forgiving. It's not forgiving anyone outside of ourselves. Forgiveness is like a healing balm that paves the way for grace in our lives, right?
Yeah, I love that. I think I'll share this with regard to grief. Everybody heals in their own pace at their own time, and neither one of us are here to tell you get over it. It's sometimes and no one's saying get over it, by the way. Be a loved one or whatever, like, so that's where we get grief stricken. We're like, how come I'm not healing? How come I'm not over this, right? So no one, just please understand that no one's asking you to get over the grief. The grief is part of the experience. We're blessed to have it. It's painful. So see how the perspective is shifting on grief. And now you, at your own pace, at your own time, allow grief to turn into grace. And so one of the things that I encourage, and I've been through this, is going, when I'm feeling grief or over a loss of a loved one or something that's tragic with something that's happened, I go, wait, okay, this hurts. And I want to honor not just the pain, but I want to honor the person that perhaps we're grieving about, right? Or the loss of a job. Trust me, I get that grief. I was in mourning over that. It's taken a process, right? So just when you give yourself that level of grace, and then you go, how can I honor this thing, whether it's a person or an experience? Let me honor this. Let's just go for a person. Let me honor this person in this grieving, because I'm clearly still thinking about them in my heart, right?
Yeah.
So you you now get to use that grief and honor. Go, wow, what an experience of love I've had with this human being or this job or whatever, right? And
Mm.
like I wanted to sit in silence there because I'd love for you to sit in silence, right? With it and go, wow, I can turn this grief into grace. And thank you for the blessing that I had with this experience, this person, right?
Mm. It's so deep, Shawn. I really feel what you've said about grief and grace. I lost both my parents
Mm.
in the past 2 years, and we were incredibly close. And it became this journey through my own grieving process that through time, through self-care, through love, through patience, through prayer and other sacred intentions and practices, I started to feel that through their passing, right? When someone is alive and very close to us, it's such a gift, right? And we can pick up the phone and talk to them, or we can see them, right? We can spend physical time together. We can touch them, caress them. Um, and it's like there's that one physical point of presence. And what I felt through the past year and a half or so of coming to different levels of understanding in my personal journey, my own relationship with grief, is that now I can feel them everywhere, through the air, through nature, through mementos, photographs, when I pick up something, when I think of this beautiful relic that my mother wore for almost her entire life. They carry memory.
Yeah.
And now that memory is such a gift because it's brought me to a place of grace. Right. And so that is why it's so important to embrace our feelings, to allow them, to accept them. I love what you said, because we can't push it away. We can't deny it, because then it becomes heavier and heavier and heavier and harder to carry.
Yeah.
So a beautiful conversation that we will continue next week in our next meeting, our next gathering. But for all of you that are feeling something that feels too much to bear, know that you're not alone. Know that through your presence, your intention, your breath, you can bring that presence of grace to all facets of your life. For those of you that are joining us in May in one of our wonderful California events, we can't wait to go be with you, to go deeper into the journey, into the transformation, and really supporting you to all become the individuals, whether you're in a couple or not, but for you to become the person that you were born to be.
Yeah, that is so, so true. And again, we're here for each and every one of you, whether you're grieving or whether you're searching for love or whether you just need somebody to listen. By the way, that is another one of those things that we get to, articulate what is in our heart. That is part of the healing process as well, but is part of your soul experience. How incredible that we have this infinite array of emotions. I mean, I get in awe of it because we as human beings are having this unbelievable human experience. In how are we using this life, this time, this moment? That is it. And this moment, like that's exactly, and I see people were talking about trauma from their, whether it's an abusive parent or something like that, right? This is part of your healing. How incredible. I know it sounds sort of counterintuitive, but some of the people who are the most empowering, successful, inspirational people in the world have had the deepest trauma. Now, I'm always fascinated, like, how did you, this particular individual, get out of such a situation, right? And I have clients and people who've had traumatic unimaginable experiences that their caretakers had done to them. And I'm thinking, and I'm always fascinated how that person has showed up for themselves today.
Mm.
And everybody here is absolutely doing just that. And that in and of itself, this fact, if you're just listening to this and you've had the trauma and you're still working with grief, you're hand in hand with it. You really are, because it'll hit us again. I've lost my father, so there'll be moments I'm like, wow, I was crying last night about certain things. But it was a level of grace that I was like, wow, I'm having this experience. And then how was this serving me moving forward? So that's the part you get to choose. You get to choose from. And you go, how can I use this pain? And you'll probably help someone else, by the way.
That's so true.
I could go on this subject, but I'm just grateful for everyone here who's shown up. I didn't even anticipate it going in that direction, about this part, but the fact that someone had brought it up, and I know there's a lot of people who do struggle with all various forms of grief, right? Yes. Of losing loved ones, of losing something that's important to them, or their house, or their career, all of that stuff that does play into the process of grieving, of acknowledging, accepting it's here, right? I'm going to accept this painful experience at the moment, right? And I'm going to work through it, with it, at your own pace, at your own time. I'm sorry, I'm going to stop talking because I could go on. And because when I see someone struggling, I'm like, I don't know how to reach you. But if there's any way to reach out to either one of us, we are both here. And
we are, and you can visit the soulinstitute.co. When you go to the Sacred Relationship or Manifest Your Soulmate retreat, you can also link there to schedule a discovery call with either of us. Also, on the Soul Institute website, there are many free healing meditation, wonderful blogs with insight and inspiration to support your healing journey. And we're so happy that you joined us. We look forward to being with you again next week, and perhaps we'll bring more insight and tips and tools for dealing with grief. Since there's such a question, we are open to all of your questions, and so we look forward to seeing you again. Yeah. Many blessings until then.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'll be next week. That transformation thing, forgiving, forgetting.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to forget. You don't have to forgive, but you get it to forgive in your own space, in your own heart. I'm not going to get into it, but I think that's the power of transformation, and maybe that's the next week's topic. So.
Yes, thank you, Yolanda. There is meditation tonight, 7 p.m. EST. It's free. You can find out information on that. I look forward to seeing you there and seeing you there too, Yolanda.
Love it.
Blessings, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Mahalo.
Take good care.
Bye-bye.